held my dad's hand as his life slipped away. 52 years of memories just flew through my mind. In the days when the best an independent filmmaker could hope for was access to Super 8 or 16mm cameras, my dad and I made a pact that one day we'd be able to afford our own equipment, and we'd make the type of films that we wanted to make. That time had come, and unfortunately that's when my dad passed away. I really felt compelled to continue the journey. I missed Dad and this helped, but I didn't know what to shoot. I shot fake beer commercials, fake coffee commercials, sunrises, sunsets, more fake beer commercials. Then my friend Paul texted. He suggested that I take some behind-the-scenes footage of the mask makers preparing for the November Dia de los Muertos festival. Here's Tiffany Meredith and Wendy Walters explain what that is.
The mask crew, we start usually around July, and we build the masks that you'll see that they sell at the Mercado and Rojo, and it's with paper mache and joint compound. There's two different types of masks that we make. So we start in July. It's a great group of people, and we build the mask, and then we decorate them. We paint them. Everybody's got their own, their way of doing their mask. And then the proceeds go back to the festival. So when we get to the festival, people will buy the mask, and it's not only a souvenir, but it's also a way for them to participate in the festival. They get to wear, they're buying a local piece of art, supporting the festival, and they get to wear it, or some of them put it on the back of their head during the festival, and it's like a memory, like a token. Most artists make masks that, it means something to them that they're going through, and it's an outlet for them to decorate a mask. A lot of them have had people that have passed before them, and so they'll make masks that remind them of the person's past. We had never been to the festival when we started. We got pulled in, we just thought it'd be a cool thing to do, make art. Yeah, we're all about that. Then we went to the festival, and it was such like a religious just experience, like a sacred experience. It was just beautiful.
Yeah, so my name is Wendy Walters. And I've been volunteering for this festival since, I believe, about 15 or 16 years now. Birmingham art community ends up being a fairly small community, and I think it was through people like Kim Graham that I first heard about the festival, and came down and saw them working on the masks and thought, that looks like fun. Had my, at the time, 15-year-old son with me who also thought it was really cool. So he made a mask too that day. And I just got hooked at that point of wanting to do it because it just had so much personal meaning for me. I've spent my entire career, I'm a social worker foundationally at Baseline, and I spent my first 17 years working in hospice care. And, and loved that, really, really grew to appreciate all of the stories that people tell you as they are dying and the things that are important to them. And so the whole idea of the Day of the Dead Festival, Dia de los Muertos, that we celebrate the memory of those who have left behind, and in that way they never die. And that's how I've always looked at things as a grief counselor.
There's clearly more of a reason for me to be filming here than just the obvious beauty. There's something else for me to uncover here. I continue talking to people. Next, I interview the artistic director of the festival, Lindsay Paris.
We, in addition to be inspired by the Dia de los Muertos festival and sacred holiday and remembrance in Mexico, we're also inspired by some other regional traditions, such as like the Second Line Jazz Parade that happens in New Orleans. And so in that same kind of fashion, we have different crews with a K. So we have our mask tasker crews that work on the sugar skull masks, a sugar skull crew that actually makes actual sugar skulls out of sugar and royal icing. I think each one hits on something special that has a sacred meaning within Mexican culture or Day of the Dead, such as the monarch butterflies, which represent the souls migrating and coming to visit. Thing I'm working on this year that I'm really excited about is I'm working with some other friends and volunteers to create an altar to Anthony Bourdain, the beloved chef who passed away several years ago. So that's been one of the things that I've been focusing on as one of my pieces.
For 8 weeks, I continued to come back, talking to more and more volunteers, learning more and more about the festival, but also learning that I had a lot to think about when it comes to the loss of my parents. The conversations I had really pointed out that I was missing something. Here are some of those conversations.
My husband, Mark, and I signed on as volunteers back when we were dating. And it was something we enjoyed doing together. Also, I had several deaths in my family. I had a lot of anxiety just about death in general. And being so immersed in the festival, it's just right there. I mean, it's everywhere you look. The topic, it's out in the open, and it takes a lot of the fear. I don't think there was ever the beauty of what's left behind here and how people remember people, instead of thinking about, well, you're going to heaven, and that's great, and I do believe that, but celebrating like the very literalness of death.
You do all this work for all these months, and it's important, and you know it's important for everybody who comes there, and then you realize that, you know, you can come there too. You know, it's just been incredible every year, just seeing the sort of the creativity and the passion that people bring to, you know, to whatever they do. And it doesn't have to be like building a large muerto or doing these huge things. You know, whatever somebody can contribute to this. Maybe it doesn't seem like a big thing, but, you know, it's all of a piece in the grand scheme of putting this together and bringing it to the community. And it's very powerful. And I would encourage anybody who would, you know, who even thought about, you know, being involved in it, I would encourage them very strongly to come and see what it's all about.
So the festival means a lot to me. Right? I do art on my own, and so the art for the festival is something special that I'm committed to. And being part of the festival, giving time, I work at the Mercado, I volunteer for the festival itself. So the art is what drew me in. The people, the connection, and the community are what keep me coming back. And the relationships get deeper and broader. You know, I've met more people, made more connections, had more of a sense of family that's grown over time, right? So it builds over time, but the festival is incredibly important to me. And if for some reason I couldn't do the art part, then I would still do the volunteer part. I'm lucky because I work with my mom lives with me, and we work on masks together. So I had the luxury of having somebody to make masks with last year. So that helped us join together, and my mom's also working on masks right now.
I got involved because my daughter was involved, and I had just moved here. I didn't have any friends but hers at that point. And the first year was more or less, wow, this is something to absorb. I had no idea really until last year when I got involved with setup and some of the other wider things, how massive this whole undertaking is.
But people use art, right? People use art as a way of communicating, a way of connecting, a way of healing. And so this is one place that art helps bring people together. It helps people tell stories, it helps people join together. So it's therapeutic and really, really powerful.
I too feel drawn in, not just by the art, but by a deeper need. I talked to two of the people responsible for bringing this tradition to Birmingham. Local artist Craig Legg and one of the Bare Hands founders, Wendy Jarvis.
My original intent was simply to introduce the holiday to Birmingham. It's honoring your ancestors and your loved ones and the people that you've lost. It's just a way to deal with that. And then, like, you know, the difference between that and Halloween and you know, the Day of the Dead with the skulls and everything, it's not a thing where you're out to scare people. And, you know, but the whole thing with how Mexicans deal with death, and it was just kind of a different thing from the way we Anglos deal with it, and you know, that just appealed to me.
Yeah, it was interesting because so when Tracy Martin's father, Spider Martin, died in 2003 in the spring, he had been to Mexico and had seen Dia de los Muertos there and was really moved by it. Thought it was an incredible way to remember your lost loved ones. And after his death, Tracy thought, oh my goodness, my dad's memorial was beautiful, but a wonderful way to remember him that he would have loved would be to create an altar for him in the style of Day of the Dead. So she asked to use a little back space, a little sort of walkthrough that we lovingly called our courtyard. And she filled the whole thing with remembrances of her father. By the end of the remembrance for Spider, you could just feel it in the air that it was meant to continue on, that we could hopefully appropriately try to share with Birmingham this ancient, sacred way of remembering lost loved ones.
Did Wendy just hand me an important clue? Am I creating something like Tracy created for Spider? I feel like I'm getting closer to why I'm digging deeper into this festival. There's only one more day of filming before the festival. I only have a vague idea of what this film should be. For the most part, I've been wandering around with cameras since August, talking to anybody that would talk to me. In all the noise of the festival setup, I have one more interview to do. A longtime volunteer with experience with the festival in Mexico.
Entonces, allá en los pueblos, la tradición es de que el día del 2 de noviembre van todos los familiares a acompañar a las...
Over all the construction noise, Rosa tells me about her childhood memories of the Day of the Dead. Then the conversation takes a sad and tragic turn.
Yo perdí una hija, tuve un accidente en el 2010. Ella falleció. She lost a daughter back in 2010. Her daughter, her brother, son-in-law, and her main granddaughter. Her daughter was pregnant. She was pregnant 7 months. They all passed away in a car accident.
As a parent, this is my worst nightmare. And in Rosa's tear-filled eyes, I've found what I need to do with this film. If there's a way to send messages across the void to the dead, there's one message that my parents would want. That's that their boys are okay. Chris is ripping it on any mountain bike trail he can find and filming it the whole way. Brandon started a new life in Costa Rica. Mom, we remember how much you loved us. We feel it every day.
Every trumpet and played every horn on the wonderful, marvelous night you were born. We love you so much, Zoe. You're the brightest star in our life.
And Dad, this is a shaky start, but I'm doing what we talked about. I felt like you were there with me every step of the way.